2. Maybe not because of COVID, but this table of powers, it's important to know if you see a number like 39, is that a power of 2 or 3? If you see the number 512, is that a power of 2 or 3? So it's nice to know power families. So I'm going to have you take a little bit of time to fill this in, because if you know these power families, it's going to make this unit easier for you, and you could use this table as a resource. The first row or column that I want you to fill in is that anything to the 0 power is 1. So 2 to the 0 power is 1. 3 to the 0 power is 1. So I kind of think of this as my holding column, and I want to make sure that I fill in all those 1s so that I don't mess up the pattern to the left. We only have to do the calculations on the right-hand side because all a negative exponent does is make it into a fraction. So if my base is 2, this is the bold numbers are the base of your exponential function. So like 2 squared is 4, 2 cubed is 8. So you keep going to the right by multiplying by 2, right? 8 times 2 is 16, 32, 64. These are all powers of 2. 128, I don't know these, 256. I think the next one 512, right? 512 and 1024. And it says once you get to a number bigger than 1,000, you can stop. So the 2 row is the only row that you can even get to 1,000. So 16, 32, 64, 128, you're doubling it, right? You're multiplying by 2. To fill in the row to the left, it's just the reciprocal of all those answers. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. Then the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4, 1/8. Does that make sense? 1/16, 1/32. Just by writing these down, you start to know some of these power families in your head. 256, 512, and 1024. That way, if you see 512 show up, you'll be like, oh, that's a power of 2. I can use a base of 2. So to fill in the 3 row, all you're going to do is multiply by 3 each time, right? So 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, is 9. And 3 cubed, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So I want you to fill in the rows. I don't think it'll take you that long because when you get to the bottom, you only have to do a couple numbers and you already bust 1,000. So don't fill all the way across. Once you bust 1,000, just stop in that row. And then if you fill in the left, it's just the fractions. If you want to skip filling in the left, this is just a table for you. So you'll see the power families if you just fill in the right-hand side. And if you want to use a calculator for the bigger numbers, I have to too. Like you could stop at 729. That's the only power of 3 I know. I don't know the next power of 3. So if you want to even stop before you get to 1,000, where it seems reasonable, So if you just want to add it to the bottom, you know that you don't have to, but you know, powers of 10 end in 0, and powers of 5 end in 5. And then like some numbers appear in multiple rows. So for example, I can get, which I said 64. 64 is 2 to the 6th, 4 cubed, and 8 squared. So you can represent some of the numbers using a different base. And we're going to keep referring back to, hey, what power family is it in? So at least you kind of have an anchor. Even if you don't memorize this power family, it's a little bit of an anchor for yourself, like, oh, 256, that's a power of something. Especially some of these bigger numbers that we're not as familiar with. We're pretty good with like the squares, but it's nice to know these cubes of some of the bigger numbers that we don't use every day.